Hello YouTube, this is Victor. Today I'm in Singapore. It's warm, humid, and a little bit grey now. It's about to get storm, so I decided to do the videos in my room. Today I'm going to talk about something that probably is the most important for you, your kids, and a special type of kids, what we call the Unaccompanied Minors. So the kids that will travel by themselves without you, and then we're going to try to go through the whole process of how it works. Welcome. So UMS are not offered on every airline. Just if you're flying a low-cost airline, it's probably not be a service. This service will not be available just because you need to have a full infrastructure. You need to have a lot of staff around that to look after the kids, and a low-cost airline usually will not be ready to spend this money for the service. So usually an will be quite often between 5 to 15 years old. Sometimes could be lower, but we can't take a baby directly. So usually 5 years old is what we see on most airlines. They will travel by themselves and they can go on a direct flight or on a flight with connection. So it could be an amazing experience, but it could be also stressful for the parents and also for the children by himself. This is a little bit, we're going to see a little bit step by step how it works. And it's important if you are sending your kid on a flight that they know with all the steps, so they know ahead of time what's happening. It's going to reassure them. So the first step, you're at the airport, you're going to say goodbye. Usually the parents will be in tears. Some kids will be crying. Some will be very proud and would like to say, I'm a grown-up. I don't even need the escort to get me to the plane. I know how to get there. I've got some really frequent flyer kids who fly sometime with one parent living in Canada, the other one living in Japan, and they commute all the time for every school holiday, even every 5 days off. I've seen some of those kids quite a few times. So they get escorted to the plane, but sometime in the meantime they'll go to a lounge. They fly Emirates in Dubai. There's actually a massive lounge just for kids with games, with entertainments and a lot of things happening. But most of the time it will be one of the room of the airport with a few toys if they have to wait for their flight. They will be the first one to get on board, but before they get on board they go through security, and this is where also they have the same restrictions as everybody else regarding liquids and gels. When they get on board, they'll meet the crew. Usually I introduce myself as the manager on board, and we'll give them a briefing about the safety of the aircraft before we play the general safety demo. So explain them where is the oxygen mask or life jacket, where the seatbelt sign is, and then when it's on they need to keep the seatbelt fastened, how to call the crew, where are the toilets, all the things they need to know. And usually I try to do it in a kind of quiz way, so it's a bit more fun, especially if they've been flying quite a few times. Now, during the flight, not all airlines are providing food, and where I fly, you can purchase a meal, but you need to book it at the time you book your flight. And I see some parents who don't get a meal for their kids. They try to save like $15, $20, but it's very awkward. Some flights can be up to 7 hours, and the kid will not have a meal where the one next to him will have a meal. So please be careful, even if it's a 2-hour flight. By the time that your kid is taken away from you and delivered to the receiver at the airport on arrival, even the flight was 2 hours, it could be a whole 3 hours. 3 hours for a kid with no food, no drinks, it's quite a long time, and just a bag of chips and cookies is not enough. And especially if they see someone sitting next to them with a whole meal and will have a mac and cheese. So be mindful of that. Some airlines will only sell food on board and only take credit card. So one option you can have, usually airports will send prepaid vouchers, so for the people who don't have a credit card. But another option would be to buy those prepaid Visa and MasterCard, like gift cards, and then the kid should be able to use it on board because it's not attached to his name. The kids are always sitting at the rear of the aircraft all together, and then so there's always a crew member not far from them. Also, in case we have a deportee on board, they're always away from them, so we try really to make them safe. Once we land, they're handed back to the ground staff who will escort them to the arrival area, collect the bags with them, clear customs, and then they will meet. There's usually a meeting area where the person who's been registered to pick up the kid will be able to pick him up. However, this person needs to have the ID. If you come without an ID, you can't pick the kid, so it's very important that you follow these instructions. So this is for an easy flight. If there's a transit somehow, they're going from Montreal to Toronto and then go to Calgary, for example, well, it will be the same process with an extra stop in Toronto. But keep in mind, sometimes things don't go as planned and the flight from Toronto to Calgary might be cancelled or delayed, and the kid might end up in a hotel. So what's happening in that case? Well, it's important for your kid to know this option that might happen if it's a non-direct flight, and then keep in mind, it might be by himself in a hotel room. We'll bring him to the room, making him comfortable, but we're not going to have a ground staff sleeping next to him during the night. So first thing, if you have family on the transit point, it's important they're aware your kid will be in transit, and if the flight is delayed, you can always ask that your kid will be handed back to some family member on the transit point for the night. So the kid will feel more safe, and you will be also much more safe, much more reassured. Have for your children in a bag also a changing kit. So as a crew member, I always carry this small pouch. Inside I've got a spare shirt. I always have a t-shirt in my bag, but I've got a spare shirt, I've got a deodorant, and then undies. It's good for them, doesn't take a lot of space. I always find a toothbrush in the hotel anyway, but get ready for they feel a bit more fresh for the next day. In a bag, make sure also they have something to keep them busy during the flight. It could be, of course, like many kids now will carry a tablet, but it could be, keep in mind those batteries don't last forever, so a coloring book, a book where they can write a novel or drawing about the experience on board and the whole trip. So try to give them an activity or something to reach during this journey, so they're not just watching TV and only drink Coke. Yeah, and that's it. That's pretty much everything you need to know about AMS, but again, the most important part is they know what's going to happen and what might happen in case of a disrupt, and then from that they usually will be very, very fine. Some airlines offer a service. I know in New Zealand they give them a kind of tracking device. It looks like a watch but doesn't give the time, and the parents on departure and the family on arrival will be informed at each step of the flight. So John has been handed to, from ground staff to the cabin crew, John's flight has taken off, John's flight has landed, John has been handed to ground staff on arrival, and John has been handed to the family on arrival. So you know at all time you get text message and notification each time something is happening. So that's great because you keep track, because it's always stressful for the parents too. This is it. That was the video of the week. If you have any experience you'd like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments. Feel free to subscribe also to this channel, or share this video with anyone you know that is going to send their kids on the plane by themselves. And then I'll see you next week for the next video. Cheers! Bye!